Also, we talk about like the honor system set up here in Japan. It just makes me think about like how safe this country is compared to America. Like I'm from the Bay, I'm from the
Mm.
San Francisco Bay Area, and let me just say, honor system doesn't exist there. So it is just amazing being in a place where people are like, I'll just leave this out, and people put their money in, and no one will steal the money, and it'll be fine. And I'm like, what world do I live in right now? Oh, actually, I think
Mm.
one of the questions that we were given was, what is, and I kind of discussed this in the last interview, is like, what is the safety like? Like, how safe is it in the countryside with petty crime? And I'm assuming it doesn't exist because it doesn't exist for me.
I think it's like a I think there's two parts to it. One is that I don't think there's much petty crime. I think because the way that Japan is structured as a very collectivist society compared to the US, right, where it's very individualistic, everybody's watching out just for themselves. Yeah, that honor system really is pervasive. It kind of surprises me. Like, um, one of the stores in town is just like a gyoza shop that's totally unmanned. Like they just drop off frozen gyoza in the freezers, and then you just take which ones you want. You pay for it, and you want. There's nobody in the store. Like
What?
that's insane to me. Like that would not exist. At least in California, could
No,
not happen. Could
never,
not.
never, never. That is
Um,
insane. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it's really very cool. The gyoza was also very delicious. It's really good. Because it's like homemade. But I think the other side of like safety in Japan is that I don't really read much news, like Japanese news, because I don't know what to look for. And um, the other thing is that because Japan is like very collectivist, it also has a very big investment in reputation. And so I think when there are crimes or things that happen, it's much more about saving face and like not out really talking about things that are happening. Maybe like everybody knows about it, but nobody's actually like saying stuff about it. Like I haven't heard news specifically, but I've heard like stories from other ALTs where like a vice principal was like stealing money from the school, not in our town, but just like a story that they had heard. But it like didn't show up in the papers. Like people knew about it, but there were like no outright consequences for it. And in order to like save face, in order to obtain like uphold the reputation of like what Japan and what needs to happen in order for things to be considered safe. So I think it's like a double-edged sword.
That is interesting because it makes sense. I mean, I know that uh, Japan has had like some negative talk about like trying to address the way history sees Japan in the past and things like that, and really trying to save face. But
Yes.
it's also interesting because one of the ways in which I hear they kind of shut down people doing crime is public shaming. At least in my area, you do something bad, what they do is they like, for example, there's a teacher who got a DUI, but she was technically it was like the next day, like it was just still in her system or whatnot. But she got fired and publicly on like she was on the news and like she can't be a teacher anywhere anymore and it was like a public shame kind of, which to me it's like, yo, it was the next day, chill out a little bit, all right guys. Like it's a little much. She had to apologize in front of the entire school. Like, so I guess you can have both sides. I guess obviously I think stealing money from the school is a bit bigger of a deal. So maybe that like on that level they push it under the rug. And on like, I mean DUIs are still bad, but it wasn't like she was drinking that same night. It was like the next morning situation, and like that was like a public
Mhm.
shame thing. And so I'm like, that's it is kind of wild how they play those two things. But as
Mhm.
I do think, have you ever had to worry about someone stealing your wallet or your phone?
Oh no.
Yeah. See.
Mm-mm. Nothing like that. If anything, right? It's like I've had my friend forget her phone at a convenience store and like 3 hours later remembered and went back and it was still there.
Yeah.
No biggie, right? Or like going to like my interactions and like with police back at home or like in the US, it's like, no, you do not want the police involved at any cost because it's just going to escalate way more than it needs to. And that is not the imagery in Japan. It is very much like, no, the police are here to help you. If you need something, like, go tell the police. So I'm just like, my gut reaction is really like, don't, like, really don't ask for help. They're not here to help. But that is also like all of the things that I've said are just on my experience as a foreigner looking into Japanese society. Like, I don't know factually if those things are like upheld in the same way. I don't know. It's hard, right? I have an outsider perspective.
It is different from us. Like, we won't have. I remember talking to my old supervisor. I'd be like, "Man, Japan just seems to have it all together." And his response was, "It's because you're not from here." It's like everyone has problems. It's just when you get to a new place, those problems aren't like they don't affect you the same, especially if you're not a native. And so it seems like, yes, like it seems great to you, but we have our own issues. But it was interesting talking about the police thing. He did say that the police connection with like was very different. Um, like even the police rules for like using force are very like they're so strict here, and I didn't like understand how strict it's like it's crazy. Even to the point of like some things I think are a little wild, like when it comes to like will they follow you in a police chase or not? I heard in a it was Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. I swear it's so bad. They're like you go past a certain speed, the police won't chase you, and I'm like that can't be true. And that supervisor is like, actually, if the chase is too dangerous, they will leave you alone. I'm like, what is happening? What world is this? That would never happen in America. Like,
versus in America, like the Coast Guard is involved. You got like jets after you shooting missiles on the freeway. Like it doesn't matter. They will stop you at all costs. Like
all costs. That being said, they don't have crazy issues like that in general. There's not many police chases in this country to start with. But yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
And when it comes to safety, if I'm in Nago and there's no Americans at the bar, I will literally leave my satchel, which has my wallet in it, on a table to save my spot while I go play some game somewhere else. Like, it's super safe.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, the only time I was told to not do that because it became a habit, and I was at this place called Gate 2, which is predominantly like the military goes there. And my friend's like, "Hey, yo, get your satchel. This isn't Japan anymore. You're with the Americans." And so I like just, but if it's Japanese, like I don't remember exactly what the stats were, but it's like if you lose your wallet, you're like 85 to 90% chance of getting it back, and same for your phone. Like,
wait, I lost my wallet like my third day here, and I got it back. Nothing stolen.
And there you go.
And there it is.
Yeah, and yeah. So
don't have.
There's also a good chance that if no one's giving it to you or it's not with the staff, there's also like if you go back immediately for it, even if it could be like an hour or two later, there's actually a good chance that it's still exactly where you left it.
Yeah.
And no, do send it into the police office.
There's that too.
Yeah.
And
so if you do go back hours later, it's not at the store. They have sent it to some police box.
Yeah. And just in terms of safety, like in Japan, you have to be aware of like certain natural disasters that happen, like
earthquakes.
Earthquakes are a big one. Happen all over the place. Tsunamis are big. There's a ton of them every year.
I think this is coming to me right now.
Really?
I think so. I'm gonna check.
I like in my area. I really don't have to worry about earthquakes or tsunamis very much.
Same.
But I live next to an active volcano, so there's that.
That's much scarier.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's ooh.
Yeah, it's erupted in the past, but it's been a long time since it's erupted. And every day it like sends up smoke, like you can see smoke from like coming out of the top of the mountain, and yeah.
Yo, thank God. I'm actually mad at I'm not mad. So sorry, we were talking about this, and so I actually Googled the typhoon that's coming toward me. And last time there was almost a typhoon, my supervisor warned me to get ready. My supervisor didn't say anything, and it says Category 5 super cyclone. 175
yeah,
miles
but that's
per
probably
hour
just
wind.
like
Maybe
For them, that's probably like a light breeze, man. They're like,
No,
okay,
no, no,
so
no.
a breeze is
Category
coming.
5 is bigger than what Okinawa is set up for. Like, it would actually.
maybe he
But
just expects you to like know about it now that you've been like in Japan for a while.
maybe.
He's like, oh, he's got it.
I think it might. I think it actually
went through a
curved. It might
typhoon
miss
before.
us. Maybe that's why. Now I'm looking at it because I'm scared. Oh,
Be careful.
Jesus! It hit Guam.